I can imagine we'll be talking a lot about football transfers tonight, and we're going to start with the news of Andre Onana edging ever closer, it would appear, to Manchester United. Mark Ogden, what more can you tell us about the latest situation here?
Well, United have upped their bid today to €50 million. I think it's still a little bit short of what Inter want. I think Inter are looking for like €60 million. But the latest I've had from United is that talks are progressing positively. So that's good news for United. Obviously, they haven't got a goalkeeper right now, or certainly what they would class as a number one, because David De Gea's contract expired last week. So Onana, for me, he's a goalkeeper that plays more to the Ten Hag style, plays out from the back. Ten Hag knows him from Ajax. So I think if Onana gets done, which I think it will do, that signals the end for De Gea, because I don't see De Gea coming back as a number two or as an option that is totally different to Onana. So I think Onana signals a new way forward for Man United and Ten Hag's team.
Don, you saw a lot of him at Inter. How highly do you rate him as a goalkeeper?
Okay, he's up there with the very best. When you're talking about, as Mark said there, Ten Hag style and want to play out from the back, there's not many better. I'd probably rank him alongside Ederson with the ball at his feet. He starts a lot of play off. His range of passing is very good. He's very comfortable dropping balls into front men. His range of pass, whether he's going left, right, his left foot, right foot is very, very good. And he's ultra confident. He's a very, very good goalkeeper in his own right, but with the ball at his feet, he is very special.
Looking forward to seeing him here, Shaka?
I do. Listen, I've not seen as much of him as Don has, certainly, but everything I've seen, I've been impressed with. And while Stevie is keen to point out, Stevie in particular, keen to point out that particularly in Champions League final, with the ball at his feet, he did make a couple of errors. And Stevie's right, but at no point did he recoil. At no point did he stop doing what was asked of him. And I think the side to Onana that I was most impressed with, particularly in that final, is a sense of leadership. A sense of presence that I think Manchester United have missed in that position. David De Gea has been an incredible shot stopper over the years. But the one thing, the one knock against his game, even when he was at his best, is that he was not the kind of leader that I think Manchester United needed in that position. Performance, I have no problem with. Leadership, I think there was a little bit to be wanted. I think Onana ticks both those boxes.
He's got an aura about him, hasn't he? I think that De Gea, I think the way it's been handled has been a bit of a mess all round. But I do think ultimately the right decision has been made in the end for both parties to move on. Good servant to the club, but I think time for De Gea to move on, and they're looking for something a little different, or maybe a lot different. And Onana gives him that. It's just that both physical and mental aura he gives behind. And I tell you what, Don mentioned Ederson there, and Shaka mentioned the mistakes. He knows he's going to make the odd mistake, but he's so confident in his own ability with the ball at his feet. He's going to continue to play out from the back. And we saw it time after time in the Champions League. So if you're a United defender next year and this deal goes through, you better be on your tippy toes when he's on the ball, because you might be getting it in a position that you don't expect. And that's the kind of goalkeeper he is. And yes, he's very good as a goalkeeper as well, because that is important. So I actually think this is quite an exciting signing if it goes through. I mean, I know we keep talking about the striking position, and it is hugely important. But I can't overemphasise, and I don't believe I'm saying this with a goalkeeper sat here, it is and has been and always will be such an important position, particularly now the way the game is played.
Craig touched on something there, and this is how the De Gea situation was handled. And yes, there are conflicting reports about the contract and who signed and who didn't sign and whatnot. But regardless of what you think of De Gea, regardless of what you think of his wages, I just think that it was handled so poorly for somebody who'd been at Manchester United, a club like Manchester United, for as long as David De Gea has been. And now the full story, I guess, will come out in some time as to exactly what happened. But I just feel that it has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths around this. When we were on earlier this week, Mark was talking about United looking for cheap options. And probably the cheapest of those options would be to re-sign David De Gea. That, as much as it may be an option and maybe a cheap option, I just think in terms of how everything was handled, everything seems to have been managed, it just was not realistic. I cannot imagine United going back to David De Gea in this fashion. I can't imagine David De Gea accepting it. I can't imagine that we're having this conversation about Manchester United, who have for years done business best in English football.
When it comes to that situation, are there any updates then, Mark?
Well, no, De Gea got married at the weekend, so he's away on his honeymoon right now, so there's no rush on his part. But United are saying that they still hope to talk to De Gea face-to-face, but I think that's just a PR stunt. I think that is basically a nice PR move to say that they've still got an option with De Gea, but once they sign a goalkeeper, they'll move on. I mean, the issue is if they don't sign Onana and they have to go back to plan B, which would be De Gea, they have to keep the option open, but as soon as they get a keeper in, it doesn't make sense that they have Onana and De Gea in the squad because they're two completely different goalkeepers. So if you have Ten Hag's team playing one way with Onana, playing with a guy that plays the ball at his feet, the defence can move higher up the pitch. Why would you then go to a number two who plays completely the opposite way and can't play with the ball at his feet? So I just think it's United covering the bases, and as soon as Onana gets done, then De Gea will be consigned to the past. And I think we're already getting to that stage anyway. His contract's been expired, but still, he's leaving the door open just for now. But as soon as you get a keeper in, I think the door will close.
Oggy, just to be clear, Oggy is using a tin of beans as his microphone. We're having some microphone issues, Oggy, and so you need to get...
I just thought Oggy was sitting in the toilet.
I didn't want to use that one.
Well, I'm just saying, it just kind of how it sounds.
Did David De Gea get married? Well, did David De Gea get married at the weekend? And have we checked? Have both parties signed the contract?
I thought Oggy was going somewhere with that. He got married on the weekend. I wasn't quite sure where we were going with that.
I couldn't resist that. David
Actually, I've decided against that.
David better get in there and check it. Oh, the missus hasn't signed the deal. Oh,
no.
Mike.
OK, let's go back to Andre Onana. Don's Mike's a little bit better right now. Where does he rank in terms of Premier League goalkeepers then, now that he's coming to the Premier League, Don, potentially?
Yeah, I think he'd rank up there. It might take him a little time to settle, of course. And I think Shaka and Craig are right in terms of when you've got a goalkeeper that wants to play it from the back and obsessed with playing up from the back, because that's one of his strengths. He's going to make one or two mistakes, but I wouldn't dwell on the mistakes because Shaka called it right before. When he does make a mistake, he doesn't then shy away from trying to risky pass again. But, I'd rank them up there with Alisson, definitely Edison. Alisson's completely different in terms of, I think he's ahead of him in terms of his goalkeeping skills, but, it's the Ten Hag way, isn't it? And I think for Man United, I think for Ten Hag, with De Gea being there, I think it's about 12 years. I think they need something fresh. I think that De Gea's probably played himself out of a new contract the last couple of months of the season when his form wasn't great, especially in Europe. So I think for Ten Hag, I think for the players, and more so, I think for the fans, even though they obviously really respect it and rate De Gea's goalkeeping skills and how long he was there, he's obviously, he'll go down as a little bit of a club legend in terms of the length. But I think you're getting a massive upgrade, I think, in Onana. If Man United get this deal done, I don't think there'll be any room for Onana and De Gea.
I think the Gundogan Shinner in the FA Cup final might have sealed the deal if there was any doubt. First goal was fantastic. The second one was a head scratcher, wasn't it, from outside the box? And there was a little bit too many of them just creeping in. It kind of reminds me in a way towards the end of a Hugo Lloris at Tottenham. Hugo Lloris, who's hasn't won the Champions League to my knowledge, but has won the World Cup. You think, well, you're criticising Hugo Lloris, but I think most of us on this panel have often sat and talked and thought, well, he just always seems to have a mistake in him, Lloris, at key moments, and that's kind of how it was starting to feel with David De Gea again. All that great work was sort of superseded by the odd bad moment in big moments. So I absolutely think it's the right thing to do. Now, the other argument is here.